everybody, how you doing? It's Ricky with the AZOI Office and Industrial team at SV and Desert Commercial Advisors here in Phoenix again. Wanted to connect with you on another topic that we felt important to bring up, and that's kind of the different build-outs that exist in both office and industrial spaces. Let's take a look at office first. Office might seem pretty straightforward, but there's a lot of different categories within that build-out criteria that affect a property's value. So they usually fall into one of two predominant categories. That's traditional office build-outs and that's medical build-outs. Within the traditional vertical, you might have more heavy office, think CPA or law firm, where it's pretty much all private offices, consultation rooms, conference rooms, and not a lot of open bullpen space. And you might get more open office, which has a percentage of offices kind of usually on the perimeter with open bullpen space in the middle area. That might be more of what you see more traditionally within the office market. And then you get creative office, which is more open office space, maybe a conference room or two, maybe even a huddle room or a private room for phone calls, but not a lot of private offices. And that is kind of where we see some offices, especially downtown offices, moving towards that creative, open, collaborative space. Then in the medical space, you get a multitude of different types of office build-outs. You get more physical therapy or chiropractic medical space that might be more open, or private treatment rooms and things of that nature, but they don't have wet exam rooms or sinks in them. You get exam rooms that maybe have common sinks within the hallways or areas where doctors or PCPs might be accessing those exam rooms, but for whatever reason, they don't need them in the actual exam rooms themselves. And then you get wet exam room medical spaces, where each exam room has a sink as well as other instruments and things that a PCP or a care provider might need to utilize throughout that examination process. And then you get even more specialized medical spaces. You sometimes see within the medical space operating rooms, procedure rooms that feel a lot like exam rooms but are larger in scale. And ORs, as mentioned, actually require a lot of different specialized build-outs. You have oxygen lines, you have heavy power, you have redundant power, backup generators and things of that nature that play into those medical spaces. And then looking at the industrial side of things, it's a little bit simpler, but you do get some industrial spaces that are going to go through and have some office build out. There's usually a ratio there of warehousing space to office space. You get some flex industrial spaces that might be a little bit more office space depending upon the end user's needs, and less warehouse depending upon their type of business. But for the most part, the things that are going to be important to an industrial user or a flex industrial user really kind of come down to how can they utilize that warehousing space. That's going to be things like clear height, that's going to be things like the total amount of roll-up doors and the height of those roll-up doors, and it's also going to be things like heavy power, especially when you start talking about heavy machinery, CNC machines, industrial 3D printers, things of that nature. They require a lot of power, much more than what we would normally see for a regular office user. So those are kind of the differences within build-out that we see within the office and industrial verticals. Should you have any questions or want to know a little bit more about what we see happening in today's market and what we see being built into new spaces, feel free to reach out. We'd welcome the opportunity to talk to you about your property and what kind of things we see progressing within the commercial real estate world. Again, my name is Ricky. I'm on the Arizona office and industrial team at SV and Desert Commercial Advisors, and I do appreciate your time.